Yeah, absolutely. Like, one of the things that kind of always baffles me is that we are, as a country, obviously, especially up in Scotland, we have got the natural resources. We've got
Hmm.
our own energy. We've got our own oil and gas. We've got a fantastic energy, but we're paying some of the highest energy prices in the world right now. And when you talk to people, it's not the major issue, but they are that the price of everything has gone insane. And it's not because of Brexit. That always seems to be the kind of war cry: "Oh,
Hmm.
Brexit this, Brexit that." It's not at all. It's because we do rely too much on importing goods. We've got the people, we've got the resources. Like I get a lot of my meat and poultry and stuff from a local farm, and the quality of British produce is
Hmm.
second to none. We've got the best produce in the world, but we're just not utilising that right now. It's almost like we're being encouraged not to. Another thing that I notice that we're doing as well is we're not training our young people.
Yeah.
We're kind of leaving our young people in this kind of limbo where you can go and do a university degree that's not going to stand you in any stead, or you'll come
No.
out with some kind of degree and something that doesn't really help you. We've kind of moved away from tradesmen and teaching apprenticeships, and I don't know if you've had to try to get any work done in your house recently, but see, try to find a good tradesman, it's impossible. It's absolutely
Yeah.
impossible. So I feel like we're importing a lot of these skills when we do have. We've got the intelligence, we've got the industry, we've got the people that are wanting to do it. I know, especially because my son, he's just started an apprenticeship
Hmm.
in the last couple of weeks, and he's thriving in it. But he felt like the school system was just letting him down. He felt like there was nowhere for him to go in the school system. There was no so he had to go himself and look for his own apprenticeship, and he's done it. Luckily, he's now he's going to be a plumber and a joiner. That's his two skills that
Hmm.
he's learning. So I know that he's always going to have work. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I feel like we're letting our young people down massively. And there's almost when I speak to him and I speak to his friends, like he's 16. It's
Hmm.
almost like this. It's almost like despair. It's like there's nowhere for them
Hmm.
to go. And
Yeah.
it breaks my heart because I think about when I was that age, the world was really my oyster. Like
Hmm.
I bought my first house at 18.
Hmm.
Um, the world really was like I started investing in my own businesses back then as well. Whereas right now I look at my son, and in reality he's probably never ever going to be able to buy a home
Hmm.
because of the state of the property market. Because just the state of everything. Even silly things like I remember when I was younger and I was struggling, you could survive very cheaply. You could go to
Yeah.
farm foods and you could get your tin of beans, you could get your eggs, you could get your loaf, and you could survive for about a fiver a week. And
Hmm.
now it's like a tin of beans is like £2, a loaf of bread's £2. Everything's you can't even afford to be poor anymore.
Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the World of Momos podcast. And on this episode of Reflections and Reactions, we have Ian Gibson with us, who is standing as an SDP candidate within Scotland, and we'll find out where he's standing for in a bit. And as you can see, I have a bit of a white screen going on over here, so you can see my probably can see my night pajamas on the side hanging on the door, which I didn't really wanted people to see, but who cares? Hi there, Ian. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
No, no worries. I haven't had any Scott on actually from before, so this will be an episode where not many people will understand what's going on,
Amazing. I'll,
including
I'll, I'll
myself.
try. I'll try and tone my accent down as much as I can. I'll try and use I'll try and use my telephone voice as much as possible then for you.
No, no, it's all good. So let's start off with you telling us, like, giving us a quick summary of who you are, what your life journey sort of is, and how you found yourself to be with SDP.
Amazing. Yeah, so I'm basically just a normal everyday working guy. I've been self-employed since I finished university. Only done first year accounting at university, and then I took on a pub. I ran a couple of chain of pubs, and then I sold up the chain of pubs about 8 years ago. And me and my partner started a raw dog food business. So that's what we've been doing for the last kind of five years. Kind of just started just before the COVID lockdowns. And obviously, unlike most people, we didn't get any time off because it's an essential business.
Hmm.
So worked all through COVID. Um, Put us in quite a unique situation because I was kind of dealing with the public when nobody else really was dealing with the public. So
Hmm.
you kind of get an insight into people's lives because you're almost the only person that they're speaking to during that whole period of time.
Hmm.
And obviously, we're working every day. We're still doing deliveries, still kind of speaking to people every day. So again, very unique that I was getting to see people's perspectives. Um, didn't ever want to be involved in politics. I'm not like I do. I'm a little bit politically minded, but it was never part of my journey. But I think I just kind of sick of not having any representation. Kind of sick of the people that are running at the minute, that are running the country, and I just feel that they don't have any real life skills. They've never really struggled. They've never really had to work hard, for want of a better kind of expression. And I kind of see that the only people that really do seem to be doing well in our communities right now are politicians. And it's and not just from like the lower classes like myself, but everybody all the way up, even people that have got the kind of higher paid jobs. Everybody's struggling right now. And like I say, we're in kind of unique perspective on people because people do give us, they kind of unload their problems on you a little bit because you're kind of the only real person that most people speak to. A lot of stuff's done online now, so they don't really have that human interaction. So a lot of people do kind of tell you their stories, they tell you your woes, and I was almost forced into it, almost forced into politics. I done a campaign for a local by-election in Kilwinning, North Ayrshire, where I'm from. Really good, kind of got the bug for it again. Obviously, I still work 6 days a week, so it's kind of fitting in around my work. So my garden has been terribly neglected of late because I was in the Kilwinning by-election. So my 1 day a week off was spent canvassing doors. So my garden's crying out for a bit of work to be done on it. But that's the kind of life that we choose. And when I was out canvassing and speaking to people, just more and more stories about how nobody's really doing very well right now. Nobody's really thriving. Everybody's just surviving, just getting by right now. And it's horrible to think that we are in Britain. We're in such a kind of developed nation. We shouldn't be struggling the way we are. And everybody is. Everybody's really struggling.
This is what I see a lot as well. My frustrations come in from there as well, because I'm married to a Pole, right? And I've been with her for 13 years, and I've been going back and forth to Poland. People's lives are getting better over there. People's life have been getting better year on year over there, right? And they're not a bigger economy than us. And actually, EU is not really helping them as such because for the past few years it has been hindering them. It has been interfering in their elections. It has been reprimanding them for using coal. It has been doing a lot of negative things towards them, but they're still thriving. I mean, this seems to have an upward trajectory, and us as a one of the first developed nations in that sense, one of the ones who started industrial revolution, who gave birth to everything that the modern world knows, we are lagging behind. And it's not because we don't have the resources, it's because we are just outsourcing everything to everyone else, and we are misusing our own resources.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, one of the things that kind of always baffles me is that we are, as a country, obviously, especially up in Scotland, we have got the natural resources. We've got
Hmm.
our own energy. We've got our own oil and gas. We've got a fantastic energy, but we're paying some of the highest energy prices in the world right now. And when you talk to people, it's not the major issue, but they are that the price of everything has gone insane. And it's not because of Brexit. That always seems to be the kind of war cry, oh,
Hmm.
Brexit this, Brexit that. It's not at all. It's because we do rely too much on importing goods. We've got the people, we've got the resources. Like I get a lot of my meat and poultry and stuff from a local farm, and the quality of British produce is
Hmm.
second to none. We've got the best produce in the world, but we're just not utilising that right now. It's almost like we're being encouraged not to. Another thing that I notice that we're doing as well is we're not training our young people.
Yeah.
We're kind of leaving our young people in this kind of limbo where you can go and do a university degree that's not going to stand you in any stead, or you'll come
No.
out with some kind of degree and something that doesn't really help you. We've kind of moved away from tradesmen and teaching apprenticeships, and I don't know if you've had to try to get any work done in your house recently, but see, try to find a good tradesman, it's impossible. It's absolutely
Yeah.
impossible. So I feel like we're importing a lot of these skills when we've got the intelligence, we've got the industry, we've got the people that are wanting to do it. I know, especially because my son, he's just started an apprenticeship
Hmm.
in the last couple of weeks, and he's thriving in it. But he felt like the school system was just letting him down. He felt like there was nowhere for him to go in the school system. There was no, so he had to go himself and look for his own apprenticeship, and he's done it. Luckily, he's going to be a plumber and a joiner. That's his two skills that
Hmm.
he's learning. So I know that he's always going to have work. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I feel like we're letting our young people down massively. And there's almost, when I speak to him and I speak to his friends, like he's 16, it's
Mm,
almost like this. It's almost like despair. It's like there's nowhere for them
mm,
to go, and
yeah.
it breaks my heart because I think about when I was that age, the world was really my oyster. Like
Mm,
I bought my first house at 18.
mm,
Um, like the world really was like I started investing in my own businesses back then as well. Whereas right now I look at my son, and in reality he's probably never ever going to be able to buy a home
mm,
because of the state of the property market, because just the state of everything. Even silly things like I remember when I was younger and I was struggling, you could survive very cheaply. You could go to
yeah.
farm foods and you could get your tin of beans, you could get your eggs, you could get your loaf, and you could survive for about a fiver a week. And
Mm,
now it's like a tin of beans is like £2, a loaf of bread's £2. Everything's you can't even afford to be poor anymore.
yeah.
And it's horrible to think that
Mm,
we are such a developed nation that like we developed the language where it all kind of began in terms of industrialization in the world, and we've
yeah.
just fallen so far behind our peers.
And I
Um,
don't buy this as well when people say, "Oh, the British people don't want to work." I think that's a whole lot of baloney, because people really do want to work. It's just that because we are not paying for the jobs as we used to. And we're not encouraging jobs, and we're not creating jobs, which people would be like, the manufacturing jobs and so on and so on. All we're doing is like these soft jobs we're creating, right? So if you're not giving them away, then they are, like you said, they are going to become despondent. And even when they have these trade skills, they're going to go to Australia, they're going to go to New Zealand, they're going to go abroad because it pays more over there. And as silly that we think we can keep on getting away with this, and become and I also don't buy this, that it's all of our problems are because of Brexit. And it's a
no,
very silly thing to do. It's like, okay, actually EU stopped us from making nuclear power plants, right? So we should have been making them a long time ago. We should be reliant on those, not on building wind farms on the sea. Like, they don't even give us a percentage of the energy that we need. Be self-reliant. Okay, we shut down our coal mines and stuff, and then we're buying coal from China. So what difference does that make? Actually, if we were burning our own coal, it would be more efficient. It would be less.
it
And
would be it'd be much better for the environment. Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. As opposed to kind of bringing in all this stuff from abroad,
yeah,
even like our steelworks and stuff. Everything's all been decimated when we should be making that stuff here. We are an industrialized country. We've got the resources. And importing energy, it just blows my mind.
yeah,
Importing windmills, wind turbines,
yeah.
solar panels, all this kind of stuff.
And
It just
in these companies, all the experts, among them are many British people who are the experts. So it's not like we are exporting our expertise and they're going away from us. So it's not like we don't know how to build cars anymore and stuff. Of course we know how to build cars. Like, those expertise are just going out. We should be making our own cars, we should be making our own phones, we should be making our own everything. We should be doing, and we should be exporting it to the world, because our one would be of superior quality.
Absolutely, and the big one for me is like I was talking earlier is like our farm and our produce and stuff. Like
Mm,
we should not be importing food. We've got
yeah.
some of the most fertile lands in the world. We've got some of the best animals, like agriculture in the world. We've got the best milk and cheese industries in the world.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Up here in Scotland, we've got the best whiskey in the world. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? And I feel like
that is true.
we're importing stuff that we shouldn't be importing, and we're
Yeah.
also we're also taxing these companies to death. So
Mm,
likes of the whiskey industry up here, it's something like 80% tax that they're getting charged up here, and it's like these businesses should be encouraged to thrive and bring
mm,
in more young talent and bring in more young people and create more high value jobs
mm.
rather than taxing them to death so that they can't really survive or be competitive in the global market.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. I think so. It's just a government of dependence that we're creating, like, so the people are dependent on the government for everything. It's a very much like a very socialist, a very Marxist idea, when you can't let people be free. And then we come on to Scotland, then, right? And because this is what has gripped Scotland, and it's bizarre for me to see like the Scottish National Party actually take hold of Scotland and make Scotland so un-Scottish, because, like, that thriving Scot, that free Scot, that free-spirited one that you can't like really hold down to, um, becoming a weird Marxist Scotland.
A totalitarian state is what we're at right now in Scotland, and I feel sometimes that Scotland we're almost like the canary in the coal mine, where
Mm,
they'll take their real radical ideas and their real radical Marxist theories, and they'll
mm,
try it out on us. Like we've seen it. Like again, this is one of the main reasons why I get into Scottish politics, because the SNP for the longest time have just been pilfering our entire country, blaming Westminster for all the problems, when it's not. The actual
mm,
fact is the SNP have destroyed Scotland.
yeah.
Like we've got the gender recognition bill, which is unbelievably unpopular with
Mm.
the populace. We had the hate crime bill, which is the most
Hate crime
anti.
bill to it's the most un-Scottish thing. Like, come
It's
on.
it's actually terrifying.
Would
It's like
William Wallace had put up with that?
but we don't. It's again, and that's the thing as well with these Scottish politicians and the SNP. But it's not just the SNP. It's also you've got the Labour Party up here, you've got the
Mm,
Greens up here. Every one of them voted for the hate crime bill, and there's
mm,
not one person in Scotland that was in favour of that bill. The only
mm,
people that were in favour of it were the politicians because it gave
yeah.
them more power. And
Mm,
it's like it does. It feels like more and more they're trying to take all your power. And what it's leading to is like you've seen it. The drug deaths in Scotland are astronomical. The drug
mm,
deaths are the highest in Europe, and that's because people have got no hope. People
yeah.
just feel like they're living in this world where they've not got any control. They can't even speak their own words.
Mm,
And it's also the other kind of reach that went a step too far was this hate crime bill also includes you in your own home. So
yeah.
that's your castle. That's your and obviously I'm
Mm,
not condoning any kind of hate speech, but when you're in your castle, that's your safe place. You should never be
mm,
worried about words in your safe place. I kind of feel like we need to get a little bit back to sticks and stones because
mm,
I'm a free speech purist. Like I would go to war for your ability to hate me. I would
mm,
go to war for your ability to insult me because again we're Scottish, we're thick skinned, we're all about
mm,
comedy, we're all about having a laugh, and the hate crime bill especially, it's the most un-Scottish thing I've ever experienced in Scotland. And again, the SNP is all very much divisive politics. It's as much as they can to break people up so they don't have a
mm,
community, so they don't have somebody to rely on. You can't go to your friend when somebody's on your case.
mm,
We're really lucky with J.K. Rowling actually because
yeah.
she tested the bounds of that law massively
Yeah.
for us. So we were really, really lucky. But then also, I'm under no illusions that they'll do not come for J.K. Rowling. It will quieten down, and then
Mm,
it'll come for the normal guy in 6 months' time. So that's one of one of my main driving forces is I need to get that hate crime bill repealed. I need to
mm,
get the gender recognition bill repealed because again, these are just horrible laws. They're badly run. They're badly worked out.
mm,
Also, a big problem that we've got in Scotland is the indoctrination of our kids, right? And I think you'll probably have something similar down south, but we find it's really bad up here because the SNP have had that unchecked power for
yeah.
so long. So for the past 15 years, they've been slowly slipping little things into our kids' education. They're not appropriate at all. They're
Mm,
not appropriate for children. They're not letting kids be kids. Which, when you look at the studies, they tell you that 1 in 4 children are geniuses, and
mm,
it's the school system that breaks that out of our kids, right? So
mm,
by kind of hampering their ability to learn and by
yeah.
stopping them from being kids, we take away their genius from them.
Mm.
And I feel that the SNP have had far too much power, and it's led to this like I don't even know.
Do you think like unchecked devolution of power from British government to Scottish government, like from the UK government to Scottish government, has been a mistake?
It's
That
been a massive. It's been a massive mistake. Like the one thing that I've got, like I'm so happy for the Conservative government down south was when this GRR bill was rolled out, they used a Section 35 to stop it.
mm,
So if it wasn't for that, that GRR bill would have been wrote into law, and
yeah,
it's like it's as simple as you could go down to the driving license agency today and change your gender, and they would give you a new birth certificate, and it's like no, because these things matter. These things really
mm,
matter, especially when it comes to sports. It comes to women's safe spaces and that. It's not okay. And I think that unchecked power and devolution has been a massive problem. It's also led to masses of debt and stuff in the local councils because what you're seeing is that this kind of stopgap between the money that is coming up here before it gets to the local
mm,
councils, it's getting pilfered. So
yeah,
one of the other big reasons why I'm in politics is I've done a deep dive into the expenses. So the SNP MP expenses and also the MSP's expenses.
Mm.
and the amount of waste is just shocking. So the constituency that I'm running for is North Ayrshire and Arran, and I'm running against Patricia Gibson, who's an SNP MP,
Mm.
and in the last 4 years, she's claimed £670,000 in expenses. The 43
Wow. For
the
what? For what reasons?
travel, staying in hotels in London, just scandalous stuff. Because the fact is that you're getting paid very well to be an MP, right? And
Yeah.
see what bothers me. See me as a self-employed person, I can't even claim my VAT back for driving
Mm.
to work, right? So I can claim VAT back when I'm out doing my deliveries on my
Mm.
petrol, but I cannot claim the VAT back from leaving my house to get to my work every morning,
Yeah.
right? Whereas these MPs are claiming money for everything. They're claiming money for their lunch. They're claiming, and they're getting paid a substantial amount of money for
Yeah.
being an MP. So it breaks my heart because when I actually added it up, there's only 43 SNP MPs, um, and they in the last 4 years they claimed £31 million. So that's a frightening amount of money for 43 people, like a scary amount of money. And then that led me down the rabbit hole where there's certain people where you can kind of go, all right, you stay up in the north of Scotland, your travel expenses are really really high,
Mm.
but not to the extent that they are claiming. It's not they're not staying in Holiday Inns, they're staying in 5-star Hiltons, and they're benefit cheats for wanting a better example.
Mm.
But then we've also got the Scottish MSPs, which there are 100, I think it's 140, give or take, and their claims in the last 4 years are £10 million, right? And that's just getting to Holyrood and Edinburgh. It's not as if they've got to, like, some of them aren't travelling far, some of them are travelling from Glasgow, and it's like 25 and £30,000 a year. When these people, again, they're getting paid a substantial wage for doing the job. So I just feel like it's not fair. When you've got like a lorry driver or you've got a normal working person that's got to get to their work or they've got to sleep in the cab of a lorry when they're travelling away from work, they don't get any of these benefits and they're
Even
not getting
someone
paid
who
the
works
same.
in even who someone who works in the office, and stuff like that, they don't get paid their expenses most of the time.
No,
It's your responsibility to get to work.
absolutely. Like I've done some jobs. Like I worked in the bank for a little while when I was driving. It was maybe about 30 minutes every day.
Mm.
Nobody paid me for that 30-minute drive. Nobody paid me for my fuel. And there was people getting trains to their work. Nobody gets a train fare back. It's like, but these MPs and MSPs they claim everything, and
Mm.
it's just not like. Again, I would understand it. Like I don't want to be classed as a politician. I
Mm.
know it might not happen right away, but I will be an MP or an
Mm.
MSP. I will be. It might take me some years, but I'm in this
Mm.
fight for the long run. But
Yeah.
when I do, I will not be claiming expenses because I know how to get by on a
Mm.
shoestring. And you're getting paid a really good wage. You're getting
Yeah.
paid more than most people in Scotland. And so if you can't get to your work on a big wage like that, then you shouldn't really be in the job.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm a public servant. I'm
Mm.
not a politician. And if
Yeah.
you're enriching yourself, you're not a public servant.
Mm.
Um,
I mean, even with the expenses, I would understand. Let's say if an MSP has to go into Westminster for a specific reason, right? Not within Scotland, but to Westminster. Okay, that's fine. Like you can claim those expenses because it makes sense. If you have to go abroad because you're representing the British Parliament in some capacity, right? That makes sense. But it's not like, okay, I'm going to Westminster and I'm going to find the most expensive hotel to stay while I'm there. No, like I would expect you to find a travel lodge. You
a
know?
travel lodge or a travel lodge or a Premier Inn because they're,
Yeah,
they're still lovely places. But at the
yeah.
end of the day, you're going somewhere for work. You're not going somewhere to have a good time. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And it bothers me as well. Up here, we've got so many MSPs that claim for flats in Edinburgh, right? When they're coming from Glasgow, they're coming from Ayrshire. It's maybe only an hour away. Do you know what I mean? Why not go to your
Mm.
work and then go home like most normal people? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just it's scandalous. And and
Mm.
and the pushback I always get online is, oh, but it's allowed, right? And see, for me, there's a big difference between what's okay and what's right.
Mm.
So just because it's allowed to claim these expenses, you've
Yeah.
got to remember that there's some guy like myself that's working, knocking a pan in to pay
Mm.
taxes to kind of keep you in that lifestyle. And it's just for me, it's wrong, especially when they're not carrying out the will of the people. Like
Yeah.
so that's also, again, I would have less of a problem with it if these people were doing their job, because your
Yeah.
job as an MP or an MSP is to take the will of the people and
Mm.
and take that to the Parliament, and we're just not getting that. People are against what they're doing and they're still doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like the SNP, they're the biggest oxymoron ever because I've never known nationalists ever that wanted to rejoin the biggest union. Like, so
Yeah.
see, again, I could kind of get on board with the SNP if it was like, we want to be Scotland, we want to have our own power, we want to have our own industries, we want to do stuff ourselves. But I can't get on board with an SNP that are going, we want to leave Britain and join Europe, a
Yeah.
bigger union. It's like, it just doesn't ring true.
A more detached union as well, a union that would not care about you because you're that small. I mean, at least the rest of the Britain would care more for you because, like, you're part of the
But
family. There's a history. There's, like,
a shared culture.
brotherhood.
We've got a shared culture with Britain,
Yeah,
and like for anybody in the SNP to say we hate the Union, we hate the United Kingdom because they've got too much power over us, but you want to take that power back and then give it to a bigger unelected power
yeah,
that's going to that is going to just going to be used. Do you know what I mean? It's never going to be to Scotland's benefit.
no.
So I could almost get on. I could almost. I can't get on board with the SNP because of what they are. But if they
Mm,
were true nationalists, I would have a lot more respect for them.
mm. At least they would be standing for what they're saying rather than just, um, but as always is the case, whenever you have social nationalists and national socialists or whatever, you have these, dubious people. So
Absolutely. Bad
yeah,
bad actors. Bad
yeah,
actors.
exactly. They are. They have been, and I think so. Like, probably, hopefully, in these upcoming election, the Scots will kind of wake up to see that independence from UK is actually not beneficial. Uh, Perhaps being a better member of the British Union would be, it, Scotland already has enough devolution and enough respect within the whole union. It's not as if, like, it gets, shoved away or anything like that. Scotland. So people need to get over their hangover. Like, look, nobody's coming over here. English people are not coming over there to claim your lands or anything. These are not
Yeah,
those times anymore. Like, we are a union, so let's work together on it. And it's better for Scotland to remain within the union because, as we've seen with gender laws and stuff like that, how British government actually blocked this happening within Scotland. There is sense that British government is actually, it does work for the best of all of us. And if we are going to work against it, that's when we have problems. Even within lockdowns, the reason why it became worse in Scotland was not because of UK government, was because of Nicola Sturgeon. Because she did what,
absolutely. One upmanship, and
yeah.
what I've noticed from speaking to the people, like the people that I've spoke to, which I do speak to like a wide range of people, and that's why I love what I do because I do speak to different people from different
Mm,
walks of life. Is even the staunch nationalists, which there are quite a few, because there's quite a few people that like I've been kind of caught up in the romanticism myself, mate. I'm not even going
yeah.
to lie to you. It's a romantic story, break off and whatever. But even the staunch nationalists now, I've had enough of the SNP,
Mm,
and that's what we're seeing. And I think we're going to see it massively in this election. I think the SNP are going to lose a lot of seats
yeah.
because people. I think people have also realised that the SNP don't actually want independence. They just want to divide
Mm,
people. So even the real nationalists, which there are some, and you know what, that's people's rights to be nationalists, just the same as any free speech. You've
yeah.
got the right to have that
Yeah.
opinion. For me, where it really fell on its face is I believe in democracy, and we
Mm,
had a vote. We had a vote as a country, and we decided that we were going to stay. And
yeah.
when that vote was passed, the politicians of this country should have stood by that because
Yeah.
we are a democracy. We had a
Mm,
big vote, and it was like the propaganda at the time was massive as well. It's like, oh, we're
mm,
definitely going to get it. We're definitely going to get it. We're going to get independence. It's happening. And then when the vote came in, the results were against them. And it
mm,
was like, right, well, you've asked the people. The people
yeah.
have told you that they don't have an appetite to leave the
Yeah.
UK. The
So get
people
on
like
with
the
it.
union.
Yeah.
So get on with your job. And I feel like the SNP have gone down the exact opposite road. What they've done is they've tried to sabotage Scotland and blame it on the
Mm,
union. Whereas see if it was me, see if I was an SNP, I would
mm,
have been like, do you know what? We've got quite a few good devolved powers. We're in control with a lot because Scotland has got a lot of control of their own
mm,
things. The SNP as a devolved government are in control of a lot. I would have went the other way. I would have made Scotland amazing. I would have
mm,
made it the best place ever. I'd have made like right now our roads are a disgrace, our schools are a disgrace,
yeah.
our bin collections, and there's nothing in Scotland right now that you could go, do you know what? It's great to be in Scotland right now. Whereas if I
Yeah.
was in the SNP, I would have made Scotland amazing. I'd have made it a fantastic country. And then people would go, wow, look at what the SNP have done with these powers. think what they
Mm.
could do with more. Where what they've done is they've gone the exact opposite direction, and people aren't stupid, right? So see when the SNP are breaking stuff, like going in and smashing plates in the house and then
Mm.
going, that was Westminster's fault. People
Yeah.
aren't stupid. People understand exactly what's happening, and what it's done is it's just made people lose faith in the SNP completely, and
Yeah, and
rightly so.
when you see all of these MSPs debating anyways, like especially from SNP and Labour and stuff, they all sound like plonkers anyways. Like, so you can see how misrepresented Scotland is, and they're making a joke out of Scotland. So Scots must be seeing this, and they must be getting even more despondent. Like, that's not me. That idiot that stands up over there and says, "Oh, everyone I see is white," that racist guy,
Hamza
that's not
Yusuf,
me.
Hamza Yusuf and Anna Sarwar, the two of them made the
Yeah,
exact same speech. So that was SNP and the Labour's top people, and they're going,
yeah,
"This country's too white, white, white," and you're thinking, "Wow." And do you know what? So many people gave them their vote because they didn't really care about their policies; they just wanted
yeah,
independence. But now people are like, "Do you know what? You've not delivered what you said you were going to
yeah.
deliver, and all you've done is made a laughing stock." Because they have made a laughing stock of Scotland.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm proud to be Scottish, right? I love the
Mm,
Union as well. I love Great Britain. I think together we can do great things.
mm,
But I'm a proud Scottish guy. Like
mm.
I love my country just the same as I'm sure you love England. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, but as you would be expected to be, right? Within the British Union, there's no demand of you leaving your Scottish heritage.
yeah,
There's actually a demand to cling on to your Scottish heritage and bring that to the Union.
yeah, no, nobody's asking you to say you're not Scottish or British, right? Nobody's
Yeah.
ever asked that. Nobody's ever asked that of me ever, right?
Mm,
And I'm proud. I'm proud. But see, right now, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by the state my country's in, because nobody's doing well. Like nobody in this entire country is doing well right now. And
mm,
I can say that confidently because I've spoke to such a wide range of people,
mm,
like people from all backgrounds, and I know people that work offshore and have got really high level jobs. But right now in Scotland, we're the highest taxed people in Britain.
mm.
So our highest earners are paying more tax than anywhere else in Britain,
And
which is
that's wrong, isn't it? Like, we should all be paying the same taxes within the union. This should not have been devolved. This ability should not have been. It
no,
seems very silly to me.
and then the money's getting wasted as well. So like
Hmm.
even all this solar and wind and whatever, right? Again, I would be totally on board with that if my electricity was free. Like, see if they
Yeah.
went, we're spending all this tax money, we're going to have these wind turbines, we're going to have these offshore solar panels. If they were going, we're going to have all this stuff, but your bills are going to be tiny because of that. But
Yeah.
that's not what's happening.
No.
That's not what's happening at all. It kind of feels like a smash and grab, and that's how everybody in Scotland feels right now. Everybody that I've speak to is very much living month to month. And again,
Mm.
that's not a good place to be in because see, and then they wonder why there's a mental health crisis going on. It's because people are worried all the time.
Well, look
People are
at what's
worried.
happening in Finland as well, right? So Finland is a bit in that similar situation for a very long time, where people actually don't even want to get jobs. They want to be on the dole because they get taxed so much. They get taxed so much that it's better for them to be on the benefits, right?
Oh, right.
But because they don't have work, they don't have purpose and stuff. They taking too much drugs and um, their life quality is coming down. It's crashing down, and
Well,
it's happening in most of the Scandinavian countries like that.
it's shocking because you do see
Yeah.
it. Like, see in the world right now, people are better off being on benefits,
Mm-hmm.
especially with rent and with the state of everything, rent, council tax, absolutely everything. People and I don't think, like, again, I understand there is a need for a benefit system. I would never take that away. But
Yeah.
when you're in a situation where hardworking people are worse off than people on benefits,
Mm. That's
you're
something wrong.
removing motivation from the people that are motivated
Mm.
as well. And again, like, I understand why young people are going on benefits because other than that, it's impossible. Like I
Yeah.
think about a young guy wanting to go out and get a flat right at 18 years old,
Mm.
and they get a job, they get a 0 hours contract job, they're in that job, they lose their job, they lose their house, right?
Mm.
Whereas when you're on benefits, you don't. That's never a
Yeah.
threat. That's not a worry that you've got to worry about. So, but what it does is by not being active and by not working, you are losing. You're losing a lot. You're losing a lot of these people's ability to work as well because it's quite easy to slip in. Like I've worked every day since I was 16. Right, I
Mm.
love working. Right,
Mm.
and I would probably be better off if I was on benefits. Right,
Mm.
maybe not because like one of the other reasons why I'm in politics is I see people getting abused all the time. Like this cancel culture is shocking.
mm,
So see for me, like speaking out against the gender recognition bill,
mm,
I have been attacked on Twitter. I've had my
mm,
business, I've had my windows smashed into my business. But I'm in a unique position where me and my missus, so it's my missus that owns this business, and I work with
mm,
my missus. So we're in a unique position where nobody can take my job from me.
mm.
So if my business gets 100 emails tomorrow saying, "Oh, Ian Gibson's a bigot, Ian Gibson's a transphobe, Ian Gibson's this," it
Yeah,
doesn't matter to me.
yeah.
My kids are also older, so my kids are 16 and 21. So
Mm,
previously, it would have been a worry for me that somebody would come and take my children away, right? Because
yeah.
again, this is the power that these trolls have, and this is
Mm.
also something that when I was chapping doors, people are like, "Big man, you're 100% right in what you're saying, but I can't say that out loud, or I'll lose my job, or they'll try and come and take my
How
kids away."
bad of a situation is that to be in? Not just for the English and everyone, but for the Scots especially, when they are known to speak their mind. Like a
We're a
Scottish
proud
person
we're a proud
self-censoring
nation.
themselves. Just it's ridiculous.
It's almost like trying to do a 360 on who we are as a people, because the Scottish people we're outspoken. That's who we are, and I'm seeing it. And it's actually sad when you're speaking to people, young parents, and you're speaking to them, and it's like I wish I could speak the way you speak, but I'm scared, right? And before, when I was speaking to them, I was kind of like, well, what are you scared about? But I've seen it with my own
Yeah.
eyes. I've seen the way they weaponize it. Like, they got me stood down from my previous party. That's how I ended up with the SDP. I
Mm,
was with the Scottish Family Party, and the Family Party got absolutely bombarded with emails about me. So they phoned me and they asked me to apologise for I was in a Twitter argument with two transgender gentlemen
yeah.
who were attacking a woman. And I used some choice language because I was angry, right?
Yeah.
So so they basically phoned me up, the family party, and they asked me to apologise, not for being in the argument, for my use of language. And I said, listen, I can't apologise. And they went, why not? I said, because see, an apology that you don't mean, that's a
Yeah.
lie. And I
Yeah.
said, I don't do lies. I'll never lie, right? And
Yeah.
that was when Dan from the SDP phoned me up. And obviously the election had just been called. So a busy guy. And he
Mm,
spoke to me for a couple of hours, and he's like, "Big man," he's like, "I've heard you speaking. I know how passionate you are about this." He says, "I would love you to come on." And he says, "We are a free speech party." He says, "We
mm,
believe in free speech. We'll never ask you to apologise for something you're not sorry for." And
mm.
and although I may have been a bit sorry for my use of certain words, I wasn't sorry. Do you know what I mean? So I'm never going to
No.
apologise for being who I am, and I'm a working guy. Like
But
nobody's
like
given me this.
I actually, I don't care about people's sentiments on this because they have overreached, right? They have overreached beyond any acceptable term, right? Because they are now with this hate crime bill, especially they're coming in your homes to police your language. I'm sorry, but that's enough. Like if they're coming, if the trans people and stuff are coming, oh, we are being attacked and stuff. It's like no, 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 you have overreached. Now your
Absolutely.
sensitivities are so much that it's policing my home. I'm sorry, I've lost all sympathy for them now. You know.
And that's where people are at. People are, do you know what?
Hmm.
Most people, especially British people, were very much live and let live, right?
Yeah.
You do you. We don't care. But the
Yeah.
problem is when you start invading like women's spaces, when you start going into primary schools, when you start involving children in this, that's when people are like, you know what, this is enough. Enough's enough now. And that's what's ringing true all the way through when I speak to people. People like nobody's ever been against trans people. That's never been
Hmm.
the case. Nobody's ever been violent towards them. Everybody's very much like, you live your life, you be who you want to be. But it's when you start trying to force other people to
Yeah.
accept what your problems are.
Also, except like, okay, you're living your delusion. That's your problem, right? You have to deal with it.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna accept a bearded man in a dress and call them a woman. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to. You know,
And I'm
because
not
it
going to teach
doesn't
my
make sense
children
to
that
me.
either. I'm not going to teach my
Exactly.
children.
Exactly. Because the thing is, the most kindest thing is if someone is going through these things, there are medical terms for it. There's medical, profession used to deal with this appropriately. I would rather that person get the help so that they can be the most happy they can be in their lives rather than indulging in their mental health issues and saying, oh, I accept you for who I am. It is actually, and people try to say this that, oh, it's a Christian thing, right? Acceptance and stuff. And I think so it's incredibly wrong to say that. I heard this
Absolutely.
I heard this Orthodox priest explain this, and it was the best explanation that I heard. The difference between love and acceptance, right? So he said, imagine you have an uncle, you love your uncle, but your uncle is alcoholic, so you would not accept his alcoholism, right? But you still love him. So you
Yes.
would want him to come off alcoholism while still loving him. And that's the difference, that you're dealing with love, but you are not going to accept the wrong behavior.
Yeah, well, I kind of somebody said to me the other day in a space, and it's been put so eloquently. They said, see if somebody was bulimic and
Hmm.
they believed they were fat. At no point in the world would you ever say you are fat.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't do it. So it's like, in what world is it okay for one and not for the other? It doesn't make any sense. And then when you've got political parties like the SNP who are basically trying to
Hmm.
force you to see something with your eyes and say something different,
It's
that's when
1984
people's minds
again.
start to go, because it's like words matter. And I think
Hmm.
that's what seems to be lost a little bit. And I had this discussion with both my kids a long time ago, actually, way before all this. And they were like, "What do you mean words matter?" I says, "Well, when you think about it historically, right, it's not about you accepting somebody's views or accepting somebody's values. It's
Hmm.
about changing the language. So if you can remove certain words from the language, i.e., they tried to remove mother, they tried to
Hmm.
remove father, they tried to remove certain words, they tried to remove male and female. When you can remove certain words from the language, you remove people's ability to protest.
Hmm.
So obviously, it's never going to be something that affects me and you. It might not even be something that affects our children because they've
Yeah.
kind of grown up knowing these words. But then when you get to the third generation, if your
Yeah.
grandchildren are brought up without these words, in their mind, they'll know that something is not right, but they'll not have the words to explain what that is.
Yeah.
And that's unbelievably detrimental to everybody's mental health. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
and
most
that
definitely, and also changing the meaning of the words as well is very Soviet way of doing it. That's why SNP is very much of a they're all commies, right? So they're going to
it
lead
feels very
development,
much like that.
you know. So they
Absolutely.
how they changed the word of safety. Safety, even when I was growing up, I'm like 38 years old. Even when I was growing up, not even in this country, in Kuwait, and then afterwards in Pakistan, safety used to mean safety from physical harm. It's always meant that, but they've changed the meaning of the word, right? So safety means safety from mental harm, and like all the other kind of, like, oh, safe spaces and stuff they've included. The reason why they've done that, because in law it would say safety, right?
Yes.
So because they change the meaning of it, they don't have to change the laws, but there's another way of how they capture it, and people need to be aware of these manipulations. Any ideology that promotes a big government, people should be very much aware, or like very much beware of it, because control does not mean obviously control means that you will have less freedom.
Yes, and that's where the hate crime really falls on its face,
Hmm.
because the definition of what hate is isn't even really in there. So
Hmm.
then all they've then got to do to put in more totalitarian situations is say that something is a hate crime.
Yeah.
So they've already got it enshrined in law that you cannot commit a hate crime, right? That's already
Hmm.
in law right now. So all they then need to do is saying, like, being against the SNP is a hate crime,
Yeah.
and then right away you're breaking the law. They don't have to change anything. They don't have to do anything except from change that if you're against a political party, that's a hate crime, and then
Hmm.
you can go to jail for being against a political party. And
Yeah.
then that's when you're getting into the real Stasi Germany, and that's where you're getting into
No,
the real
and it's
problems.
not
That
that far away. It's not that far
it's
away. Yeah.
when you start policing words, you're right on the cusp of it. And
Hmm.
again, I think that's why it's so important that we get more kind of, I don't like saying the word normal people, but we need more working people. We need more people that have got life experience, people that have got lived experience
Yeah.
in these positions. Because I feel like even in the Westminster, I feel like what we've got right now is we've just got better and better liars. We don't
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
like Labour's not what it once was. Labour's not for working people. The
Oh, they haven't
Conservatives,
been for such a long time.
for
They
nearly
haven't been.
40 years,
Yeah.
but and
If
also
you know what, like, sorry to interject. If you see the history of labor, for me, they stopped being the party for working class in 1960s, when
yes,
there was a need for workers, and they let 50,000 Pakistanis from villages immigrate into the north of England and put them as gaps for the job market and stuff. They didn't care about the cultural differences. They didn't care if they didn't even speak English or they were illiterate and stuff like that. That has had consequences, because that has had people who have completely changed those areas in Bradford, in Manchester, in all the other places, where we have had such huge crimes as well, such huge, sexual crimes and rape scandals
Absolutely.
and everything like that. They stopped being, because they only did that so that they could increase their vote bank. And that's,
Yes.
you know, and I was like, well, people should have seen they stopped being the party for the workers at that time.
Yeah, and like the Conservatives as well, they've not been conservative for the longest time either. And
No.
what's happened is you've seen both parties get closer and closer together, but
Mm,
all they're doing is telling lies. And
yeah,
it's almost like it's like theatre. It kind of reminds me of the Colosseum in Rome. It's like these people aren't here to be politicians. They're not here to represent the people. They're here to put on a show.
yeah.
They're here to keep the masses entertained so
And
that they
even the
won't.
show that they're putting on is so shit.
Yeah, it's the worst show in history, and it's like for the longest time, people like this is obviously I'm going to be voting for myself this time round,
Mm,
right? And this is the first time since I started voting that I'm going to be able to walk out of the voting booth with my head held high, right?
yeah.
Because see my previous votes, it's not been because I think they're going to be good. I think they're the right choice. It's because they're not as bad as somebody else,
Mm,
and that's not a good way to be voting. Like
no.
nobody should. And what's mad is both of these parties, the big parties right now, the two party system, they're both putting out the same adverts. It's like at least we're not the Conservatives, at least we're not Labour. It's not
Yeah,
look. It's not look at what we can do for you. It's look at who we're not.
yeah.
And it's like that's just bad
Yeah.
politics. That's just shocking.
And I don't buy this Tory thing as well. They stick like, oh, they are not Labour and Labour is worse. And I've seen other people put that forward as well, or vote for Tories because Labour is going to be worse. Like, you actually don't know how worse Tories are, because under them we have gone more woke, because
Absolutely.
exactly, because they do in the shadows what they deny in the light, right? And these are even worse. At least with Labor, we know how bad they are, and we can fight them on the level foot. But with Tories, we just don't know, because they're saying they don't, or they got Cami over there who is like fighting for the gender rights, while we have Penny Mordaunt over there who is behind the scenes is okay with all the woke nonsense and stuff like that. It's like you don't know what's going on then.
Yeah, and I think that the problem is that they say again, it's what it comes down to is being honest, right? And
Mm,
and I think that's the biggest problem with politics right now, is that too many people, and it's not even just dishonesty. It's almost like if you vote for me, I'll change my views and values, right?
yeah.
And this is something that I get quite a lot of traction. See, when I speak in spaces and stuff on Twitter, like there's no amount of money in this world that will ever change my values. There's
Mm,
nothing you could do. I would rather not get any votes than
mm, yeah.
pretend that a man can be a woman. Like I would rather
Mm,
not be elected, because
yeah.
what will happen in the future, and this is how I've got the utmost confidence that at some point, it might take me 20 years, but
Mm,
this is why I've got the utmost confidence at some point I will be an MP,
mm,
because people people right now don't value honesty the way it should be valued,
mm,
because it's like people have been lied to and they're just accepting the lies. Whereas see at a
mm,
certain point in time, people are going, do you know what? I might not agree with everything that Ian Gibson says, but at least I know that what he says is true. And
mm,
that's what politics has lost massively. It's lost. People should be able to trust in what the politicians say, and it's like the Conservatives been, oh, we're going to stop immigration, and immigration has never been higher. It's like
mm,
that's just a lie. That's just
yeah.
a fancy wrapped up lie. And
Mm,
while you're not working on that, while you're not fixing the problems that the country's got right now, it's people. I just hope that people don't have to go too deep into a dark hole before they realise how bad it actually is.
But that's what, like, most people say is, and like, we have to be really down in the dumps before we come back. And this is what I'm trying to do as well, like trying to wake people up. It's like we don't have to. We don't have to hit the absolute rock bottom, because it's not us who are going to suffer from it. It's our kids who are going to suffer from us letting them down this way. This is what we have to fight. This is for the future generations. that will really have to fight. So, but moving on from that, according to you, what would be Scotland's three main things that can turn Scotland around?
Well, for me, it would be the hate crime bill needs to
Mm,
go first. That's first and foremost because
yeah.
that's free speech is vitally important. It's so
Mm,
important that people don't understand just how important it is. The
mm,
second one would definitely be the gender recognition bill,
mm,
and then I think the third one would be schools because
mm,
if our young people, if we keep doing this to our young people, we're just not going to have the talent pool that we require to pull
mm,
ourselves out of this problem. And I'm seeing it more and more often that kids seem to be the target now because they don't have, like, you could tell, I remember when my kids were young, you could tell your kids that the sky was green and they would believe that until they were
yeah.
adults. And they would fight on that. They'd go, that sky's green when it's not, it's
Mm,
blue. And that is the real problem with children when you start going really young and indoctrinating them, is that their minds are so malleable. So for me in Scotland, they would be my three. That would be my three priorities. Obviously, I want to fix the state of money wise for people. People, the
mm,
economy's a riot. But for me, getting rid of the hate crime bill first gives people the freedom to speak, which is
yeah.
what we need. We
Yeah.
need people to
And
be
that
able to
drives the
stand up,
change then, yeah.
and everything else
Yeah.
can come after that. But for me, right now, the most important one is the hate crime bill because people
Mm,
are terrified to speak. They're just terrified,
mm,
and when people are terrified to speak, you're never going to get the answers or the results you require elsewhere.
mm, mm, mm. And what why why do you think people should vote for SDP? Although, like, during the whole conversation, we got the why Scotland should be voting for SDP, because there isn't any other party apart from SDP. Is Reform standing
Re-
in Scotland?
Reform standing in every
So
seat in
there's some
Scotland
sort
this
of
year.
alternative as well
That
over there. So apart
like
from Reform and SDP, there aren't any parties that actually value freedom of speech.
there's not.
Hmm.
Again, the Scottish Conservatives have actually been quite good. Like I
Hmm.
don't like to kind of tar them all with the same brush because
Yeah.
they voted against the GRR, they voted against the hate crime. So the
Hmm.
Scottish Conservatives were actually quite good. They're the only party that did. But in Scotland, and also the problem with reform is that their numbers don't really add up. Right, I do like some of reform's ideas, but their numbers just don't add up. Whereas the SDP,
And they are
we've put
very
in.
much England focused, anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't think they'll be heavily focused in the Scottish election that's coming up.
Hmm.
Whereas what I really want to do, taking the SDP forward, and I've spoke to Dan about this, I would love to stand like almost a candidate in every seat for the Scottish election because
Hmm.
people need another choice that isn't
Yeah.
Conservative or Labour
And
or
SDP is a very
SNP.
natural choice. SDP is actually such a natural choice for Scotland, and that the more the
It
people that
ticks
you know, they will vote
it
for
ticks
it.
all the boxes. Like it ticks all
Yeah.
the boxes. And people right now, people in Scotland, they don't have a choice. You've got the
Hmm.
SNP who pretend they want independence. You've
Yeah.
got Labour who are just Marxists in disguise.
Hmm.
And admittedly, you do have the Conservatives, but also the Conservatives kind of speak with a forked tongue. They don't
Yeah.
they're still ruled. They're still ruled by kind of what the English Conservatives do.
Yeah.
So for me, the SDP is the only party
Yeah.
that's got the political clout to kind of take on enough seats to make an actual difference.
Hmm.
Especially because we've got proportional representation up here.
Hmm.
So what we can do is we can gain a lot of seats for the SDP in the Scottish elections, and I think it's
Hmm.
something that over the next 2 years I will be aiming hard at because
Hmm.
we need change. We need it drastically. We actually need it
Yeah.
more than we do in Britain because in Scotland we are the canary in the coal mine. So
Yeah.
I think the SDP will do very very well in the Scottish elections.
Yeah. And SDP can actually build from that so much more, because if they have people within the parliament from the Scottish side as well, it can show people, and they can be the example when they turn Scotland around eventually.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
be the change you want to see, and that's what I think this SDP offers. Like the SDP offers their stance on public housing, just their stance on
Mm.
nationalising certain stuff. They give people an option to kind of again I don't want to sound like Donald Trump, but to make Scotland great because it is a great
Mm.
country. Like we've invented so much
Yeah.
stuff up here. We've had some of the best minds in the world. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and our school system was revered all over the world, and now it's
Mm.
not. It's kind of fallen flat. So I would love to bring all that back, and I'd love to make Scotland the destination that it should be.
But do you think Scotland is ready to vote for a party that does not want it to break off from the British Union?
Yes, yeah. I think I think from speaking to the Scottish people, like from speaking to people in general, they're more than happy. I don't think you're ever going to get them to say we don't want independence anymore, but
Yeah,
they're more
because
than
that's yeah, you can't let that go. But they understand that it's not a bad union.
there's bigger problems. As
Yeah.
the way the people of Scotland are looking at it right now is there's much bigger fish to fry, and independence is maybe something for 30 years down the line. Right
Mm,
now, we need to fix the problems that Scotland's got, and that's where I think the SDP has got a unique kind of standpoint, is that they can bring that to Scotland. They can,
yeah.
and if Scotland was run properly as part of the union, you would also lose that wanting to leave.
Yeah.
Right?
And
You would
if you actually had a party as well that was not running on that shtick of independence, but actually working on the problems within Scotland and then also harboring good relationships within the union, you would get a
absolutely.
like yeah.
You would lose. See with the without the SNP poisoning the well, you would have more people that would be happy with the union, because
Mm,
all it would take is 5 years of somebody running the country properly. That's all it
mm,
would take, and then
yeah.
people are like, you know what, this union's actually brilliant. This is good for us.
Mm,
The SNP are the problem.
yeah.
And once if Scotland, because obviously for so long Scotland's not known anything other than the SNP,
Mm,
it would only take one cycle for people to see, wow, this country can be run properly. This
yeah.
country can be run, and that would lose the majority of you're always going to have the diehards, because it is a romantic idea. You're always going to have
Yeah.
them, but also those diehards wouldn't be as passionate about it if Scotland was brilliant.
Mm,
If everything was running the way it was meant to, and the hospitals were run the way it was meant to, the police force were run the way, the schools were, people wouldn't be, they wouldn't even be interested in breaking off from the union if things were going well. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's all been caused by the SNP, and that's for the first time in my life I've seen that people have actually they know that the SNP are not the answer anymore.
Yeah, and because as far as I know, there used to be a lot of people from England that were going to Scotland because it was a better life to live over there.
Absolutely.
That has stopped, obviously, because of the situation.
Well, I think obviously it was quite disheartening, for
Mm,
people in the union when the vote was so close, because I think a lot of people in England and Wales and Northern Ireland kind of thought, well, the union's great. Why would
mm,
anybody? And obviously we've had the SNP drumming this into people for
mm,
so long that it's almost a disconnect from the rest of the UK,
mm,
which is sad really, because we've got shared values, we've got shared culture. We're
mm,
not going to find that anywhere else in the world. So it doesn't matter where the Scotland and the SNP want to join, we're not going to have that same culture or that same kind of shared, because it's
I
like
mean,
everybody.
banter is banter, like, but obviously deep down, everyone knows like how important each one is to each other. So,
Absolutely, and it's like we are better together. Like
mm,
we're obviously, with the exception of Northern Ireland, we're one island. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
We've got one coastline that we all share, and it's like Britain's a beautiful place.
yeah,
It's a stunning country,
mm,
and I think if we can kind of get back to grassroots and kind of get back to the basics, which is what the SDP really want to do. They want to fix the problems.
mm,
I think it would just lead to just I don't I think the thirst for nationalism would disappear. I think it would disappear very very quickly when I think once the SNP are removed, we'll see that disappear so quickly, because it's just right now it's almost like the people have been brainwashed to a certain
mm,
extent, but they are waking up, and it's actually beautiful to see. But I just hope it comes quick enough. I just hope it comes fast enough, because people have lost faith in the SNP, and it was
mm.
needed. It was necessary.
Yeah, and I think so. More and more people in Scotland, when they hear about SDP, I think so it would attract them. It's just a matter of them not knowing about it enough, and
Absolutely.
not that many people not standing up from SDP within Scotland. So I think so. Next round of
And
elections, I think so that is where it needs to be built up.
I think that's why Dan and some of the higher ups in SDP are excited to have me, because I'll pick that flag up and I'll run with it,
Mm,
and see from just speaking to people, like Twitter's a good place as well, but see from
mm,
just speaking to people locally, there is a hunger for it, and my plan is to grow that, to get as many people to know about the SDP as
mm.
possible, because that was one of the reasons why I didn't join the SDP in the first place, was because it was just unknown. I
Yeah,
didn't know the policies, I didn't know what they
mm.
were. Whereas
Same same with me
my,
as well. Yeah.
my job now is to get those policies out into the world, especially in Scotland, because again, we're very tribalist up here. It needs to be coming from a Scottish voice. Do you know what I mean? It needs to
Yeah.
be coming from a Scottish voice. And now that I'm like obviously I'm not the leader of the Scottish SDP or nothing like that there, but
mm,
I'm very passionate about the SDP.
mm,
They showed me everything I needed to know when they
mm,
stood up for my free speech. When the party that I had campaigned for didn't. So as
mm,
far as I'm concerned, the SDP had my back, and I will do everything in my power to let everybody in Scotland know that there is an alternative. Because I think, like you were saying, it's just that most people don't know about it. It's not the fact
mm.
that the SDP is not a fantastic party. It's just that we're not wide enough known in Scotland yet. But that can all be fixed very quickly. That can all be
Yeah.
remedied very, very quickly.
Well, I wish you all the luck in these coming elections as well, and I hope your campaign in the future grows stronger and stronger within Scotland, and we can take hold of Scotland and also the northern England as well, because I think so. SDP is needed to wean people off of Labour,
Absolutely.
and that is the anathema for like Labour. Like it has to wean people off from Labour and understand that Labour is actually not standing for the working class. So even if people don't agree with SDP policies, there's a lot of policies I don't agree with. I don't know, it doesn't matter. There needs to be a different voice, and there needs to be authentic voices, and there need to be people who believe in what they say. So if even if SDP says, "Oh, we want to nationalize something," then there should be an opposite reaction to it to say, "Oh, we don't want to nationalize it. Have it out, have a debate, and maybe we can come to some sort of consensus."
So
But
I
people
think that is the
hiding in
other thing that's
shadows and
lacking.
saying, "Yeah,
That's the other thing that's lacking. There's no real competition. It's almost like
hmm,
everybody's almost going in the same direction, and they're just pretending that there's an opposition. Whereas the SDP does, and I love the one vote per
hmm,
member in the SDP. That if there's something that you don't like, you can change it.
yeah,
I think the SDP is the future. I really, really do. I'm really passionate about it as well because
hmm,
everything that I've seen so far, and everybody I speak to from the SDP, they are all working people.
hmm,
Everybody's doing this in part time. They're all working like out with it.
yeah."
Um, Nobody's really a career politician, which I
Hmm.
love. I feel like there's a whole load of public
And there's
servants
a
in the
vision.
SDP.
There's actually a vision that it's not a reactionary politics. It's actually social conservative, but there is a vision. It's not a reactionary
Yeah,
party. So you can actually believe in it because they are working on their policies every now and then. So
and the foundations are so strong. Is
yeah,
what I love about it. It's
yeah,
not just these are the topics of the day. This is what we need to
yeah.
fire on.
It's not
The,
populist as well, or these are the personalities like Reform is doing. And then
yeah,
when those personalities go, well, everything crumbles. And
well, reform right now is built on Nigel Farage, and
yeah,
when you build a party on one person like that, there it's on shaky ground from the beginning.
yeah.
Whereas like our party is it's very strong roots,
Mm,
very strong roots, and it can be built upon, which I love, and I see the support I've had from like, the higher ups
mm,
within the party. It's been incredible, and obviously I'm just a little guy up here in Scotland. Do you know what I mean? But the support I've had has been phenomenal. So I'm actually really excited. Obviously, the general election it was kind of flung on us quickly,
mm,
so we didn't really have much time to mobilise. But I'm really, really excited for the future. Genuinely excited, and I think things are going to change. I really do. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like that because for the longest time ever, especially in Scotland, but the wider UK as well, because UK politics has been very much
mm,
nobody's been passionate. Nobody's been
yeah.
everybody. Even right now, when you hear people, I'm voting Labour or I'm voting Conservative, nobody's excited about it. Whereas, see, when you
Mm,
talk to SDP people, they're all excited. They're all
mm,
ready for it. They're all ready for the fight. And I think that's what we need. Do you know what I mean? I feel
yeah.
it's just it's good times ahead. Obviously, I think, and what worries me is I feel like there are some bad times still to come before the good times come.
Mm.
As
Well,
most
as
things.
long as there's a vision, so as long as there's a vision, people know what they're suffering for.
A light
The
at the end of the
suffering will
tunnel.
not be that hurtful because people know what they're suffering for, right? So I
Absolutely.
hope I hope the whole nation is grabbed by such excitement for the future. That there's hope there, even if it's not SDP, if there's a counter party or whatever, but a party
Yeah,
that actually believes in its values and wants to actually and is from the people. Hopefully, we have a future.
just get the passion back into politics, into that's what because people aren't right now, and I'm starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel, mate. And this has been great tonight. Actually, I've really, really enjoyed this. So my first
No, thank you so much, thank you so much for coming on. And I think so people will, if someone from Scotland, one or two people at least, are watching, I hope they can spread this message, because they need to know, they need to come out of their depression, so to speak, and be
Absolutely.
hopeful of the future. When people are hopeful, they band together, they can defeat the worst things. So hopefully that's for the
So
future.
I'll be sharing it far and wide. It's my first
Yeah.
my first podcast experience, big man, and it's
Now
been
you should be
it's
on a lot more podcasts, I think so.
I really appreciate that. It actually means a lot coming from you, because I was a little bit pensive. I'm not going to lie, mate. I was a little bit pensive, but no, I really enjoyed it, and it was a great conversation.
You done good. Thank you so much for being on, and thank you everyone for watching. I'll catch you next time.